I cannot envision any of us being here tonight, least of all myself, without the tremendous life and music of Chuck Berry. And on behalf of my family, nice one, Chuck. Now, if my father was still with us here, I'd imagine he'd be standing where I am right now, graciously inducting the original members of ELO into the hall. He loved ELO, the Beatles loved ELO. I'd like to introduce the 4 original members who will be inducted tonight. There's powerhouse drummer Bev Bevan, whose drum intro on Don't Bring Me Down often does actually bring the house down. Bruce. Even the keyboard maven, Richard Tandy, still with them today, unfortunately not with us today. His synth sounds have me hiding under my chair before the first bar of Tightrope even plays. The visionary, groundbreaking multi-instrumentalist Roy Wood. Who wrote many of ELO's earliest songs. Whilst Roy's time in the band may have been shorter than the others, he'll always be an architect of ELO's DNA. Last and certainly least, just kidding, my dear, dear pal, Jeff Lynne. One of the great songwriters, producers, musical innovators of our time, a rare genius, a real-life legend, and ELO's mastermind for nearly 50 years. Jeff was one of my father's dearest friends. It was March of 1986 when I had my first close encounter of the ELO kind. My dad took me to a benefit concert in England called Heartbeat. The show was in Birmingham, where ELO formed in 1970, and the massive NEC arena was packed to the roof for a headlining set by their hometown heroes. Bev, Richard and Jeff were all there. I'm sure they remember it just like it was yesterday. This was my first big rock show. I was 7.5, and from my perspective, ELO's performance that night was less like that of a reputable rock band, more like witnessing a 21st century extraterrestrial spaceman wielding bizarre instruments. Their songs sounded like a symphony of lasers. I stood there in silent astonishment watching these guys offer a hit parade of incredible songs like Evil Woman, Telephone Line, Do Ya, Mr. Blue Sky. Right? I thought, why have I never seen anyone in our house playing such strange looking instruments? I mean, we all had guitars around the house, but that guy had a tiny blue guitar jammed under his chin, and that other guy had a massive big guitar on its side and was playing with a bow. It was very strange. Anyway, on stage the band appeared to be having as much fun as we were, and they bounced around side to side. It reminded me of like the Star Wars Cantina band, you know? Only with lots more hair. Smoke hung around in the air, all around them. The leader of the space band stood in the middle, singing falsetto like an angel. His eyes were hidden behind metallic shades, wielding his laser guitar. He seemed affable, and occasionally he exchanged pleasantries with us humans, between songs. We mean your planet no harm. It was epic, and I wanted to be transported, beamed up, probed, whatever. I just wanted to join the team and never go back. So after a dozen or so songs, my father gets up from his seat and tells me to, wait for him with this kindly man who had taken us to our seats. He walked off, and moments after he walked off and disappeared from view, suddenly he reappeared on the stage carrying a guitar. And I began to panic, because this was the first time I'd ever seen my dad play an instrument ever on stage in my entire life. Out of nowhere, in perfect unison, they all kicked into Johnny Be Good, just like in Back to the Future. Right. being abducted by like an intergalactic space orchestra. Again, ELO has taken my father and left me behind, bastards. The kindly man assured me that he'd eventually be returned to us. Sorry. So we made it back home together eventually. And to my joy and surprise, joining us after was ELO's extraterrestrial wizard captain, the man in the middle, Jeff Lynne. He'd come to live with us on Earth, and Jeff was soon a permanent fixture at our house. He and my dad drove the same car, they flew off to Formula 1 races, we did family vacations. We were a travelling family, and I got to see Jeff work in his secretive ways, often late at night. This was the dawn of an incredible blast of creativity from Jeff. He worked with Dad on Cloud 9, he produced Rorbison's Mystery Girl, co-wrote and co-produced Tom Petty's Fullmoon Fever, and then there was the Travelling Wilburys. I got to see his genius as a producer. I began to learn the Jeff Lynne studio lexicon, you know, words like trilby and wobble and, I don't know, it's a tremendous calibre of artists that Jeff worked with, you know, Sir Paul McCartney, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, Joe Walsh. These are not musicians who needed a lot of help, but they just needed Jeff. During all those sessions, I came to realise that a lot of my dad's friends were, in fact, from outer space. Like Jeff, you could tell because of their eyes, right? Their eyes were far more sensitive to Earth's bright sun than all that. So they required special lenses to protect them during the day and most of the night. And they communicated with each other via wallets and jukeboxes in each of their houses. Through secret messages disguised as Del Shannon records. And it was these UFO-esque machines that I came to discover the albums of ELO on. Starting from disc 1, track 1 of a New World record. And it starts so quietly and had it turned right up. And then the terrifying sound grew until my roof nearly came in. Straight into that giant orchestral arrangement with a choir and then Bev's drums and that laser guitar, and all the time punctuated with these terrifying aleatoric string spikes. You're allowed to start a record like that? Somebody had actually thrown me down the line, and my life has changed. Years later, on a personal note, and I know this is a bit sad, but one of my final conversations I ever had with my dad was whilst we were trying to complete his final record. It seemed, you know, we'd run out of time, and he told me, take the masters and seek out once again that space wizard, Jeff. And that together, we would know what to do. Jeff knew exactly how to cross that bridge and to finish it. And in the process, I finally learned what trilby and wobble meant. Like, yes, I actually speak fluent Jeff now. Working with Jeff was one of the most amazing times I've ever had, and seeing those beautiful blue eyes peeking over the top of those space lenses has carried me through some of the toughest musical moments in my life. And for that, I thank you. ELO is alive and well in the galaxy. There were ELO sightings last year over Glastonbury. They were seen by hundreds of thousands of people over Hyde Park. I saw an ELO 2 nights in a row last year over the Hollywood Bowl. It was in November, right after the election, and trust me that when I say everyone in LA was staring at the spaceship thinking, take me with me. I saw some kids there that could have been 7-ish and a half, and more that were probably 77 and a half, all wanted to get beamed up. Jeff, thank you for bringing the spaceship back with that Mr. Blue Sky laser guitar sound. Tonight is about celebrating the beginning of the Electric Light Orchestra, the birth, that Big Bang moment in 1970 when the Move morphed into ELO, right? It's to celebrate these 4 superbly talented musicians Roy, Bev, Richard and Jeff, who didn't always get along, but who were there in the beginning, willing to throw down together on these joyous, hybrid, rock, classical harmonies, those killer songs. They'll live longer than any of us, somewhere out there in a musical galaxy right between Chuck Berry and Beethoven. And so, it's my great, great honour on behalf of all the humans out there that voted for this, because on some other planetary system I'm sure they've already done this, to induct ELO into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.